And meet everybody. All right, so just an announcement before we go. Since the skies of Israel are open, our women's trip to Israel in February is a go. So anybody who would like to join us, this is our last opportunity. And it's we're leaving Denver on Monday, February 14th. We'll be back on February 24th. And it should be a beautiful time. I spoke to my niece yesterday. She said that, you know, everything's getting very green from all the rain. Winter in Israel is beautiful because that's when everything is blossoming. The heat of the summer is when things are dry and brown. And the winter is when it's colorful and beautiful. So I'd love to have you. We have space. If anyone would like to come, I think by the end of this week, you can join Kathy and Renee and me on this trip, and we would love to have you be part of it. So it should be a really good time. So let me know. You can email me and let me know if it's something you'd like to consider. I'd be happy to tell you more about it. All right, ladies. One thing to start with today. Today is Tuesday, which I know you know, and I think this has happened every year because our class always has met on Tuesday, but I always kind of forget about it. But today, when it's the Tuesday of Parsha Bishalach, it is considered an auspicious time to recite what's called the chapter of manna. The chapter of manna is the chapter reading about it in the Torah, or it's in your Siddur, in a regular traditional siddur. It's usually at the end of the morning service where there are additional blessings. There are like the 6 remembrances, the 13 attributes of principles of faith, whatever, the 10 commandments, and then there's the portion on manna. So the portion on manna is understood to be auspicious for making sure that we have food. And this is, some people have a custom to recite this every single day, and then some specifically on the Tuesday of Parsha Bishalach, which is today. So I invite you to look for that, especially if you're feeling nervous about sustenance in general, or even if you have sustenance, because having it or not having it is not necessarily a measure of whether we feel nervous about it. I myself always have food anxiety. Probably I can, could lie on a couch and the therapist could, evaluate me. Goes back to my childhood. But anyway, it is something that just as a human nature that we are nervous about where our next meal is going to come from. And it makes us nervous if there's nothing in the refrigerator and nothing in the cupboards. That's very challenging. And the way the manna was delivered, as we know, was once a day in the morning, and you could not keep it. It would rot. And so you started every day blank. And it was a real incredible opportunity to test and to develop people's sense of emunah, of faith and trust. We've talked in previous years that the manna is related to the word emunah. Manna is spelled mem nun, and those are the letters, the central letters of the word emunah. So it was really designed to help build the Jewish people's trust in God for being taken care of. The Jewish women we know were the ones who gave the name manna to manna. It says Beit Yisrael, the house of Israel, called it man. And the women who were the ones who were the people who kept the faith the most in Egypt and after leaving Egypt, they were the ones who named it because they were the ones who embodied that quality. So it is in this week's Parsha that the Jewish people get manna. And so to say this and to think about the miraculous nature of food. This is what blessing did the people make when they ate their manna each day? Instead of saying, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, blessed are you, Lord God, who bring us forth bread from the earth. They said, Hamotzi lechem min hashamayim, the one who brought forth from the heavens, brought forth bread through the heavens. So God calls manna bread. He calls it lechem when he first introduces it, but it's the women who call it man. So that is our embodiment of that. We're the ones who provide that and live the embodiment of what manna is all about, which is to trust that God is taking care of us. This doesn't mean that we don't put in our effort, but it means that we don't have this underlying insecurity. If you think about what people as individuals, as nations have done out of a sense of anxiety that they're not going to have, people engage in maybe business practices that aren't honest because they want to make sure that they have more money, that they don't have enough, that they want more. All of those things where we go off track. If you look at the deeply rooted, what is motivating that? You can say dishonesty, they're jerks, whatever. But at the bottom is fear. It is fear I'm not going to have what I want and what I need. So this is an anti-fear, anti-anxiety therapeutic session is the section on Man, on the section on Man. All right, so that was just a little bit of an introduction. The next thing that I wanted to really talk about that is related to that is about from the Haftorah, when for this week's parsha is the Haftorah about Devorah, about Deborah the prophetess, Deborah the judge. Now, what's interesting, when we said before that was the women who named Manna, says that the word for a mother is an aim or ima. The word aim is aleph mem. Those are also letters, the first two letters of the word emunah. So we have this direct connection between mother, aim, aleph mem, and man, mem nun. And if you put those together, ima and man equals amen. So if you take the aleph and mem for aim and the mem nun for mana, and you put that together, you get aleph mem nun, amen, which is El Melech Ne'aman. It is an acronym for God is the trustworthy king, and that is what the Jewish women represented and reflected in the world all the time, and certainly going back into Egypt and forever. This idea of being a mother, an aim or an ima, we know does not necessarily related to gender. There is something that's called mother. Even Moshe himself kind of describes himself as a mother to the Jewish people when he gets exasperated, as mothers are wont to get, with their children who are making them crazy. And he's like, did I give birth to these people? Am I like nursing all these people? I have to carry all of these people in my bosom? He's like, am I their mother? Basically, he's saying, am I their mother? And God's like, good point, you need help. So bring in 70 elders to help you. But this is the mothering concept that, again, is not directed towards specifically one gender or another. But we're going to talk about it in terms of Deborah, of what does it mean? And so you can give me some of your ideas. When you even hear the term, like somebody is a Jewish mother, what does that evoke? What does that mean? When somebody says somebody's a Jewish mother, what does that mean?
Nag.
Nag, okay.
Very protective.
Okay, nagging and protective. Okay, what else is a Jewish mother?
Nourishing.
The best.
Nourishing. Leslie is saying nourishing. Okay, great. Nourishing, caring, nagging.
Pushes a lot of food.
Pushes a lot of food. Okay, is definitely looking to definitely nourishing, like give you food as an expression of love. Okay, what else?
Lots of opinions.
Lots of opinions. Is that what you said, Dorothy? Lots of opinions. Okay, opinionated. No, and where does that come from? So when we take a look at like, what do those things mean and where do they come from? Because I didn't see anybody expressing any shock over any of those labels or those descriptions. And I also didn't hear anybody say meek, that what a Jewish mother is, she's meek, she's a pushover, she lets everybody walk all over her, she doesn't have any say, she doesn't have any power. I didn't hear anybody say that, because that's not what it is. Everyone knows it. Even if somebody has a negative connotation, they don't have that kind of a negative connotation. So anything else, any other descriptors? Because then we're going to look and see like what is behind these things and what does that really mean then to mother in its most
Strong.
sense. Say again, I'm sorry, Etta.
Strong. Extremely strong.
Strong. Okay, thank you. Yes, strong. Okay, strong.
Intelligent.
Intelligent. Okay, somebody who knows, because if you're intelligent, you tend to have opinions about things, because you, as one summer when we were in the Catskills, the one and only time I was there, there was a store that sold kind of like knick-knacky type of things. And there were mugs in the window and it said, "I'm not bossy. I just know what you should be doing." It's kind of like that, it's like, "I'm not bossy, always tired." Okay, always tired, worn out. Okay, exhausted. Okay, so and why is she tired? From her effort. Renee, what else?
When I think of a mother, I think of someone who's empathic.
Okay, somebody who's empathic, and do we mean empathic and empathetic? Do we mean that? Or
No, not empathetic. It's different. Empathic, like my mother or someone who's mothering me knows me better than I know myself.
Okay, all right,
And,
so
and
good.
it's very helpful.
Okay, great. Okay, so it's an empath. This is like on Star Trek where Captain Kirk who always consulted with his psychologist person, the empath. It's like, okay, somebody who like gets it, someone who gets it. Okay.
I think that woman is actually, the woman who played that part actually is Jewish.
Oh, there you go. Okay, of course she should be. She, could have been Italian. But
No
she-
wonder she was so beautiful. I always thought she was beautiful.
So beautiful, so wise. She always had the best advice, and they listened to her. That's the other thing. So the Jewish woman actually does tend to be listened to. It's now when she's not listened to, then she can become a nag because she doesn't give up. She's not like, "Well, I gave my opinions, I'm not gonna say anything else." It's like, "No, you didn't listen the first 400 times, I'll be telling you again." So it's like there is a determination, a stick-to-itiveness in all of that. So now all of these things can surely be turned into caricatures, of somebody. There's a caricature of a strong Jewish woman and the meek Jewish husband, "Yes, dear, whatever you say, dear," kind of thing. There's that. It never goes the other way around. Interestingly, that cartoon has not been made. I'm not saying there aren't some families that work like that. There may be, but that's not a stereotype that we have. So what is this Jewish mother and what's behind it? And how does our heroine this week of Devorah the judge and the prophetess manifest this? Because the reason we're asking this question is if you have a Chumash, and you want to go to the Haftorah, which is in the back of the Chumash on page 11, we're going to go actually to 1153. It is chapter 5, verse 7. And we're going to see that Devorah herself gives herself a name, gives herself a label, and we're going to try to understand it, especially in the context of what we're hearing in the story. Hold on one second. Oh, I just missed that chat, whatever somebody just said. Hold on one second. I didn't see it. Take charge, woman, under any circumstances. Absolutely, taking charge. You see that in in communities, and that's truly women in general, honestly. When we talk about how the West was one thing, and how the West was civilized was another. The West was won by men and it was civilized by women. And they took charge of like the disaster that people were living with, and they created schools and help organizations and got the community together and like, we're making this happen. Or you think about Hadassah, for example, the largest philanthropic organization in the world. It's like, who started that? A small group of Jewish women. Okay, this is who we are. So let's take a look at this text about Devorah, the prophetess and judge, chapter 5. Hold on one second, verse 7. So we're jumping into the middle of Deborah's song, and she says, "They ceased living in unwalled towns in Israel. They ceased until I, Devorah, arose. I arose as a mother in Israel." And the Hebrew is Shakamti aim beYisrael. Okay, I rose up as an aim for the Jewish people in Israel. That's a little surprising. Let's talk about who we know Deborah was. First of all, do we ever hear about any of her children, or even if she had children? No, there's absolutely no reference to having children. We know a little bit about her husband, and we're going to learn about him, what her relationship is with him and how she relates how she relates to him and what their relationship is. She's a prophetess. She's a judge. She's an arbitrator. She is a Torah scholar. She is a military general. She is the peacekeeper, the peacemaker. The Jewish people had 40 years of peace under her rule. Let's see, what else can I say about her? She was the leader of the Jewish people. And let's see, and she was a prophetess. So you have all of those things. And again, as a military general, she was the one who led them into battle and successful battle and arranged what the strategy was going to be. And she was not we're talking about how she was in all of that. So if you're all those things, as I say, in a bag of chips, it's like, and you're going to say, and then I rose up, and it's like, Devorah. Devorah was and fill in the blank. You would pick any of those other labels. She picks the self label about herself that embodies all of those things. A mother. All of those are really all about being a mother. So what we want to do is try to understand, what does mother mean? Because unfortunately, that's what happens with stereotypes and caricaturizations, is that we lose the inner meaning of it, and then we disassociate and disavow it. Because I'm not that. Because I was like, well, I don't want to be a Jewish mother. People say that. That's like, I don't want to be a Jewish mother, but, and then they say something that's about being a Jewish mother. So what does that mean? So first of all, it does not have to do necessarily with having children or having children of your own or anything else. It has to do is, what is the approach of a mother, the way we understand what this is. So let's take a look at Devorah and who she was. And the first thing we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at her relationship with her husband. So if you go to the beginning of the Haftorah, she is introduced in chapter 4, verse 4. This is page 1152. And it says, Udvorah, and Deborah, Isha Nevi'ah, she was a prophetess. And then it says, Eshet Lapidot. Eshet Lapidot means two different things. It means either a woman of fire, like a torch, of a woman of a torch, or it means the wife of a torch. Okay, so she was a torch or she was a wife of a torch. She was the judge of Israel at that time. Most of the commentators say that Eshet Lapidot is both things. She was a fiery woman, that she was an embodiment of her name. Her name, Devorah, means two different things. One of them is that it's based on the word dibur, to speak, and that she was an orator, and she was very gifted in her spoken ability to speak. Not that she just sounded good, but she was powerful in her speaking. She could speak words of criticism, and she could speak words of encouragement. And she did both, because she also was like what the word means, which is a honeybee. It says a honeybee makes honey and it stings. It says that she was both. It says, and that's what a Jewish mother is. Because when does this happen? It means you say what needs to be said in a way that it needs to be heard. And so sometimes that is with a sting, and sometimes it's with honey. It's both. So it says that she was a fiery woman, because fire also, as we know, can do amazing things. It can destroy something, or it can transform something. So that's the purpose of fire, is to be transformative. And that's what she was. And it says, Eshet Lapidot, that she was the wife of a man named Lapidot. And Lapidot means like torch or wicks. So it says in the Midrash, it says that her husband, this is also kind of interesting, kind of a little bit stereotypical of sometimes how it's drawn in a caricature. Here she was, a general, a prophetess, a Torah scholar, a judge, an arbiter, a leader, a military strategist. And her husband, not so much. So that he was not those things. Now, women often have a thing of like wanting to, quote, marry up, or at least marry equal. What about Devorah? It says her husband was not her match. So what could she have done? First of all, this could have been a source of tremendous friction. It could have been a source of like, she would be looking down her nose at him of like, what are you? Or she could have said, I don't want to be married to you. Instead, what she did is she saw who he was. And who he was is that he wasn't a scholar. She didn't say, you know what, you really need to go to the Jewish Experience and sign up for some classes. You need to go to shul and daven. She didn't say any of those things. She said, I'm going to make wicks. And you take them to the Beit HaMikdash. You take them to the temple to donate them to create light. And you will earn the world to come because you will become a person of great righteousness. She inspired him to be him. And then it says, according to the Midrash, that he thickened the wicks so that they would last longer and burn brighter. That he followed up on the direction that she was putting him on, encouraging him on in a nurturing, respectful, visionary way. And then he worked with that and he strengthened the wicks and brought them to the temple. And there's a beautiful midrash that says about him, hold on, let me find it. About him, where is it? And I lost it. It says that she was told, they were told, hold on a second. Sorry, I printed this out here. Now I can't find, oh, okay, here it is. This is from Eliyahu Rabbah, which is a collection of Midrashim, chapter 9. It says, Devorah's husband was unlearned. Now, in Judaism, I have to say, an unlearned man is the lowest on the totem pole, honestly. The person is called an Am Haaretz. If someone calls you an Am Haaretz, don't say thank you. Okay, an Am Haaretz means like, a little boorish. But she said to him, let me make you wicks and you'll take them to the tabernacle in Shiloh. So this was before the Beit HaMikdash in Yerushalayim. Your portion will be among righteous people there and you'll merit the world to come. And then he enhances that. It says he made thick wicks to increase their light. And that's why his name was Lapidot, that it went from just a wick to a torch. So he enhanced and increased what in the direction his wife was taking him. And it said, and God said to Devorah, you both intended to light up the tabernacle. I too will make your light shine in Israel and in Judah and among all the 12 tribes. So that her husband did the light that he was his thing, and she did the light that was her thing. And that this is a sign of this is what it means to be a mother, is to see someone's potential, to see a person of who they really are, and encourage them, not to saying, well, you know what, I don't really expect so much of you because I see you're kind of like low here, or say, what is their gift? What is it that they do? God put them into this world to do something special, and all talents and all inclinations can always be devoted to something holy. So she's saying, you take what you do and you take it to Shiloh. You take it and dedicate it to the Mishkan, to the Beit HaMikdash. Says this is what being a mother means, and that's what she did with her husband. So that was the first thing of what it means to be an aim, is somebody who does that. The second thing is it said that she was also a person who, as a prophet, says like, what does a prophet do? So a nevuah, someone who is a navi, says that person is supposed to give God's word to the Jewish people. That's the purpose of being a navi. But what kind of prophetess was she? It says that she, using her innate ability to connect to God, she brought the word of God to people who had endured degradation and humiliation to elevate them spiritually and emotionally. They had been so trodden upon by their enemies that there was such low self-esteem, self-worth as Jewish people, as individuals, and that she used her nevuah and that power to do that, to lift other people up. So oftentimes we see the prophet's role is to chastise people. She saw her role and exercised her role as a mother version of a prophetess to encourage and inspire the people around her. And they, in fact, were encouraged and inspired by her. And so that this is what she was. She mothered everybody. She also worked as an arbitrator, which is a little bit different form of being a judge. Normally think of a courtroom judge of like guilty, innocent, whatever it was. She wasn't that kind of a judge. She was a judge when people were having problems, debates and, machlokats between themselves. They would come to her and she would arbitrate. And the purpose is to return them to being an upright society where people weren't doing things that caused so much pain and aggravation and suffering amongst each other. So when they said they lived in peace, it's not just they lived in peace and they didn't have the enemies at their throats, they lived in peace. And she did this partially by sitting under the palm tree. Because the palm tree has one trunk with the leaves all coming out the top. And by having that was a metaphor for who she was, is she was able to find a way for people to find their point of connection and unity. That it wasn't just arbitrating of like, okay, fine, I give in. It was like, where's the place of agreement here? Let's look for that. That's a very different kind of a judge. That's the mother who wants the kids not just to say sorry or, punishment. It's like, we need to bring the family back together again. Where's that place? That's arbitration. Because we even have an idea that a judge who is not a good arbitrator is not a good judge. Because the idea is to restore peace. So this is what she did. She nurtured them back to the stature of being an upright society and a light unto the nations. Because that was Devorah as a mother. And then in addition, as a leader, it says that she encouraged the scholars and teachers to travel from town to town, re-educating the masses and transforming their ignorance and distance from God into enlightenment and teshuvah. So some leaders are really happy that they get to be at the top of the heap. I'm just as happy if I can be really superstar. And honestly, the little people down there, you can all stay down there and just be, the adoring public. There's that mode. And then there's the mode of like, here's where I am, and I want you to be here too. And this is a different kind of a leader, says this is a mother leader, because the mother wants to see the child reach their full potential. That's why she nurtures the child. It's like, why are you bothering if you don't see any potential? You don't think the person's going anywhere. Says this was what she was able to do. So she was, as a leader of the Jewish people, encouraging them. And she said, scholars need to go out. You need to go out. This can't be an elitist thing. It can't be just some people know and some people don't know. Everybody needs to be able to reach their maximum spiritual and intellectual capacity. And then as a military general, you tend to not think of women as being the military general. She says she acted as a mother leading the nation into battle. She physically went into battle, not because she preferred a state of war, but because she knew it said it would provide them with the necessary security to function and fulfill their potential. And that they saw a miraculous victory and to realize the benefits of their close relationship to God. It says, what is a woman who goes into battle? It says, even in the animal kingdom, it says, who's the most dangerous animal on the planet? Leslie, unmute so I can hear you. I know you're saying something.
A female lion.
A female lion. Never mind the lion that's the lioness that you have to be worried about. And even amongst gentle giraffe, which I got a taste of at the Denver Zoo when there was a new baby giraffe born. And I went, oh, so cute. And I'm like up at the fence, talking to this little baby. And the mother came over, stood over the baby, stuck her face like right in my face and started spitting and hissing, like, get away from my baby. I'm like, you're a giraffe. I hear giraffes just like kind of, amble around and look cute. But oh no, when you're the mother, it's like a mother bear. So like, oh, we saw cubs. It was so cute. It was like, oh, no, 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 no. If you see baby cubs, there is going to be a mother bear right close by. You do not want to see that. So it says the mother is the one who is the protector. And I think, Dorothy, might have been you who said the fierce protector, the one who is like, I am here to protect you. And I'm here even to protect you from yourself. If I see you doing something stupid, That's why I'm going to nag you, and I'm going to insist you need to do your homework. Did you call the boss about the raise? Did you, you can't stay home. You have to go to school. And I'm going to nag you. And that's what it's going to sound like. But where it's really coming from is I see your potential. If you hear a Jewish mother say, yeah, stay home, stay on the couch, whatever, do whatever, it's like, that's not a Jewish mother. I would question her credentials. It's like, that's not what we do. It says that we are here like, you must fulfill your potential because I can see it. It's like, it says like the mother is the one who is a prophetess who can see the potential fulfilled, which is honestly the only way you can bear the tedious process of raising a child. Otherwise, why bother? Honestly, they take your sleep, they take your space, they take your money, they take your time, they take your nerves. You're at your wit's end. Like, to what? Why? It's like, because I see your potential. And come hell or high water, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that happens. Now, good psychologists will tell you there are different strategies that are more or less effective in that process of how to do it. But the energy that's behind that is, I see your potential. And I see it not only as, I think you have some potential, I see it realized already. And so here you are here, and I see you here. And so we're getting you there. And I'm not talking about in the material world of like, you must be successful financially, or you must be, at the top of the whatever, but you must fulfill your potential, just as she did to her husband. You take the wicks to Shiloh. You take the wicks to Shiloh, and you will earn the world to come, because that's who you are. And I want you to be who you are. Devorah was the leader. It says for 40 years, it says which time the country was at peace, free of disturbance by surrounding nations. It was an atypical achievement in Jewish history, and it was accomplished with her unique feminine powers. And so when she gives her name to herself of like, and I arose as a mother in Israel, it's like, what are you talking about? The whole Haftorah is about the battle. And you're talking about that you arose as a mother. What are you even talking about? Yep, that was me being a mother. So when we talk about the appellation that we carry, says you don't have to be married to be a Jewish mother. You don't have to be a woman to be a Jewish mother. But the world needs, this is all called feminine mothering energy. And I'd say the world is in short supply of it. I shouldn't say it's in short supply. It has been dismissed. It has been denigrated, and it has been distanced from, because of, I think, the stereotypes, the jokes, the whatever made about it that we make ourselves. About ourselves. But in some way, we are failing to lay claim to our true inheritance and to wear that as a badge of honor. So here's Devorah, the prophetess, the leader, the general, the Torah scholar, the judge, the whatever. And she's saying, who am I? Who am I? I'm a mother. And that word that is used is Aleph Mem. So it doesn't say Ima, it says Aim. I am Aim. I'm a mother, Jewish mother in Israel. So God willing, hopefully we can take that mantle up and say, I'm a Jewish mother. Dorothy, you look like you have a comment.
You don't have to be Jewish to be a Jewish mother.
You don't have to be a Jewish to be a Jewish mother. You don't have to be a mother to be a Jewish mother. You don't have to be a woman to be a Jewish mother. It's tapping into what we call this is a Jewish definition of motherhood. And this is what it means to be a Jewish mother. And people know this because, there are people who, like, for cultural reasons, an Italian mother will say, well, I'm really a Jewish mother, or this person, they were like a Jewish mother. Or, in my husband's office, when he worked for Treasury, there was a woman, not Jewish, in his office who was the Jewish mother for the office. That was like her. She was nurturing of everybody who was there. And it doesn't mean, not that these things aren't important, but it's not the whole picture. The person who knows when everybody's birthday is, the person who's always celebrating anybody's accomplishment, the person who makes sure that cards or flowers are sent if somebody is ill or going through a hard time. That person is always called like the mother. So that's part of it, but that's just like that's a little band, which is essential and wonderful to have in any environment, to have somebody who fits that role. Not that it can't be shared by multiple people, it doesn't have to be one person designated. And yet it goes a lot farther and deeper than that. It goes to the level of Devorah, of being able to do that. And we can all use some Jewish mothering. Etta.
I've heard that when women name their babies, they have a little share of prophecy.
It's whoever names the baby. Yes, and also the father. It says that when parents decide on a name for a child, or honestly, if a person decides on a name for themselves, if they, let's say they convert or they never had a name, it says the naming process is done with Ruach HaKodesh, with a little bit of divine inspiration, and people are done. But now going to what Etta is saying, however, is the example of our matriarchs. Rachel and Leah name all of the tribes. It does, Jacob, the husband, it does not name them. The women name all of the children, and the names that they give them are all considered not just the names, but a description, a deep description of the essence of who those, not only who those children will be, but who the tribes will be who come from those children. So I just learned something also very beautiful. I'd never kind of connected the dots, just going off of what Etta is saying, is that we know that when Leah named Yehuda, and she says, this time I am thankful, says that her level of gratitude was incredible, and she names him that, and that the tribe of Yehuda becomes the tribe, excuse me, that embodies the ability to acknowledge God, acknowledge other people, whether it's acknowledgement of wrongdoing or acknowledgement of gratitude, which both stem from the same idea of acknowledging what we have done, what we have received, all of that. So it's interesting to note that King David, who is from the tribe of Yehuda, was the person, the embodiment of this quality, not just as the king, but he's known primarily, in addition to being the king, he's known as the author of the Psalms. And the Psalms, which are just an overflowing expression of gratitude to God for difficult, challenging times and tremendous blessings, that he is thanking God even as he's being chased down by King Saul, who wants to kill him, and he's being tormented. He's always expressing his gratitude to God. It's like, where did he get that from? It's like great-great-great-grandma Leah, who gave the name to Yehuda. This tribe, this mission is all about gratitude, and that is the ultimate redeemer of the Jewish people, is gratitude and the expression of it. So if we want redemption to come, then we need to go back to the name. If the redeemer is going to be from the house of David, from the tribe of Judah, then we need to go all the way back to Leah. And where did what's the seed, what's the kernel, what's the root of this? This time I will be thankful. Like, okay, that's my path. The path is the path of gratitude. Will bring redemption. So yes, and it's interesting when people have names and they don't know why they got them or how they got them, and then to find out that those names really hold in them their mission, their strengths, their challenges. It's all wrapped up in that name. So Devorah had that name of Devorah. That word could be read as Dibur Hashem, the word of God, is that she brought the gift of speech to the people, and she can give it to them. So if we look at Deborah's song, the battle that she's planning, there's another person involved in this story, which is her general Barak. Now, Barak is understood by many commentators to be one and the same as Lapidot, that because Barak means lightning, which is also about kind of a fire thing, and his name was Lapidot, which means flame or torch. So there's some who say that that was just another name for the same person, and that he was her general to fight. So in chapter 4, verse 6, it says, she sent to summon Barak, son of Avinoam of Kadesh Naphtali, and said to him, has not Hashem, the God of Israel, commanded, go and draw people toward Mount Tabor and take with you 10,000 men from the children of Naphtali and from the children of Zebulun, etc., etc. Verse 8, Barak said to her, if you go with me, I'll go, but if you do not go with me, I will not go. So why does he say that? It's like he's scared. He wants her to go. So she says, I will surely go with you, except that the path upon which you will go will not be for your glory, for Hashem will deliver Sisera into the hand of a woman. Then Devorah stood up and went with Barak to Kadesh. So she goes with him, and we know the battle is going to end with the killing of Sisera, the general of Yavin's army. And it's done by Yael, who drives a 10-pin through his head. So this whole parsha, this whole Haftorah, and including the parsha as well, is all about the strength of the Jewish women. Because we have Miriam's song, we have the women naming Mana, they're the ones who decide what it's going to be called. We have Devorah, the prophetess and the judge, and we have Yael. So, so the question about if Leah was thankful after the birth of Judah, what does that say about her other children? So let's talk about that for a moment, just since we got onto that topic, and you might wonder. Of course, she was thankful for her other children, 1, 2, and 3. She was very thankful for them. However, she thought she was entitled to them. So it says that the women knew that there were going to be 12 children, and there were 4 mothers. It was Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah. So you do some simple math, and you take 12 children divided by 4 mothers, you should each get 3. You should each get 3. So 3 times 4 is 12. So when she gets a 4th child, then she realizes, almost like retroactively, I wasn't really entitled to anybody, because it could have been one mother has 12 and the other mothers have nothing. So the fact that I got 3, I should have been grateful for them, equally as grateful, but almost all of us have like a threshold of entitlement. You know, God gave me life, so he should be taking care of me in this way and that way. I'm entitled to this. We probably wouldn't articulate it, but we kind of tend to think that we're entitled to a certain something, instead of I'm entitled to absolutely nothing. And truly, I'm really a pauper. I have nothing and I am nothing. I'm only what God gives me. So the word Yehuda has God's name in it, Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey, and it has the letter Dalet. Dalet means, from the word dal, means a pauper, somebody who has nothing, is poor. So what Leah realizes is, I am so indebted. I'm so grateful, and my gratitude knows no bounds, and my indebtedness knows no bounds, which is something else that makes people uncomfortable. No, most people don't like to feel indebted to other people. It makes us uncomfortable. First of all, we don't want to need, and we don't want to have to really rely on anybody else, and we don't want to have to be grateful. That's why we send thank you notes. It's like, did that clear that, you know, we've made everything even now. You gave me, and now we're good because I said thank you. What Leah does is she makes Yehuda's name an expression of eternal gratitude. Not I said thank you. Not like that joke about the husband who never told his wife that he loved her, and she complained. And he said, you know, I said when we got married, I loved you. And until I say different, like I still do. It's like, why do I have to tell you like every minute that I love you? So it says, why do I have to say every minute, thank you? It's like, because your gratitude is endless and ongoing. So that was the gift of Leah. So it says that nobody before Leah had thanked God in the same way. But it doesn't mean that no one said thank you. Abraham certainly said thank you. Sarah said thank you. Lots of people said thank you, but not this deep gratitude of I'm entitled to nothing and I am forever grateful. That kind of gratitude. I think I've shared a story before about Matis Goldberg, Rabbi Hillel Goldberg's son, lives in Israel, and he had the opportunity to take an elderly man to drive him to a bris in Israel. And every time he sees this man, like for years after, he always comes over. And it's not because he has dementia and doesn't remember that he said thank you. He always comes over to him to say, I just want to thank you again. You know, when you took me to that bris, of what, you know, allowed me to be at my grandson's bris, it was so special. And, you know, now he's 3, now he's 5, now he's 10. And you allowed me to be at that at Simcha. His gratitude is expanding. It doesn't like, oh yeah, I thanked you for that a long time ago. It's like water under the bridge. It's done. So that's how most of us like to think about being grateful, but grateful to institutions that educated us, grateful to organizations that helped us, grateful to people who were there for us at certain times. Most of us will be like, like that's done. And that was the gift of Leah with Yehuda. And King David is that person also. And so that's the path to redemption. So now back to our Devorah, of how she speaks. So this battle is all taking place. It's going to go into the hands of women because Barak is not willing to go into battle without her. And afterwards, after the battle, Devorah has some strong words for the tribes that didn't show up for the battle, because not everybody did what they were supposed to do. So on page 1154, this is all in a very poetic, nice words, but it's sharp criticism. Verse 15, it says, the leaders of Issachar were with Devorah, and Issachar was like Barak. Into the valley he was sent on foot. But the withdrawal of Reuven requires great heartfelt contemplation. Why did you remain sitting between the boundary lines to hear the bleatings of the flocks? The withdrawal of Reuven requires great heartfelt investigation. So she is criticizing the tribe of Reuven that did not join in battle. She's like, we need to talk about this. That was not okay. You did not come to the aid of the whole group. You sat out, you left. It's like, can't do that. So she's very sharp, but still in a poetic way, but nobody could miss the stinging criticism. Said she was a bee. I can give honey, but I also sting. And it really takes that duality of knowing. And that's another aspect of mothering. You got to know when to say no. There's such a thing as tough love. It's like, you are out of bounds. You did the wrong thing. I love you, but we need to have a talk. So it's just this ability to be that person. She's such a hero. She is such a hero. So in a way, it would be nice that these parshas were kind of spread out and we didn't have Miriam and the Jewish women in the Man and Devorah and Yael all in one parsha, because it makes it a little challenging to even decide what to talk about or think about. But to really take this opportunity, which is why I wanted to go to the parsha instead of go to the Haftorah rather than the parsha, to mostly focus on this gift of who Devorah was. So it says that this is from the end of this article. It says Devorah's message to all Jewish women, really could be to anybody. Mothering is a necessary component in any field. No matter what the task, we must always aspire to nurture, help people with our unique insight to achieve physical, emotional, and psychological health, affect people on a spiritual level, impact and influence in a small, profound way, or on a general national scale. All of this is learned from Devorah. All of this falls under the rubric of what it means to be a mother in Israel. So next time somebody says, you're acting like such a Jewish mother, say thank you. And say, you don't even know, I wish I could be a true Jewish mother. And that is not an insult, that it is the highest compliment. But we also have to make sure we carry it out in just the right way. The recipe for being a good aim for Israel, a good mother in Israel, it's not so easy. Like how even did she, like what she did with her own husband. How do you inspire somebody without putting pressure on them, but being mindful of who they are and what they can be and directing them without telling them totally what to do? So it was his idea to make the wicks stronger. She didn't tell him that, but he worked with what she gave him because she must have done it in a way that preserved his self-respect, his dignity, and his sense of her confidence in him, because everybody needs to be respected. This is, but especially men need to be guided in a way that shows that we have respect for them. If they don't feel respected, it's like then everything kind of falls apart. So she was successful personally and at the top level, which we also don't always see. We see people, we see leaders who are very successful in their national, whatever persona that they are, and their family life falls apart. They don't know how to do it and be successful with their family at home and with the nation at large. Or you might see the opposite. Somebody runs great in their personal level, but they're not so successful on a national scene. Devorah was really somebody who was able to master it just straight down the line. Just really, truly inspiring. Ah, exactly. That's why we plant the seed so that the men can feel that they thought of a given idea. It's exactly right. And then they obviously, you know, the reproductive part of that is they give us the seed and then we grow it. So it's the feminine act. So when we give them an idea, that's actually something to say, that we give them a seed and we make sure it's the right seed, the one that's going to take root and really be able to grow in them. And that is an act of nurturing, because to give somebody the wrong seed, the wrong idea, and send them in the wrong direction is an act of hostility and violence and discouragement. So we need to really pay attention and use that feminine energy intuition that's called Bina, that intuitive understanding that sees beneath the surface of what is really there. And I just keep thinking of Devorah with her husband, especially at a time, I mean, always a Jewish scholar is somebody who's highly respected. What does a woman who's a top scholar, how does she live with somebody who's like not? It's interesting in the Jewish world, this is in Israel and in some of the Orthodox parts of the world. You know, it used to be in the shtetls that a few of the top boys would go on to study in yeshiva. They would become the rabbis, they'd become the teachers, etc. Not every single person. Not every single person. The other people were like, they were the farmers, they were electricians, they would milk the cows, whatever. They just like had a village. And just some people would be the ones who were really the top people, the learners, they would go. We've gotten ourselves into a situation where we think that everybody should be in yeshiva and they should be sitting and learning because it's so respected. But it's the same thing in the general world, where people think everybody should be a professional. Everyone should be a doctor or a lawyer. Like, no, somebody should be an electrician. Someone should be a garbage collector. Someone should be making wicks. Like, what is this distortion? So, but every society has a thing that they think is the most valuable, and it not only distorts the whole society, it's very unfair to the individuals in it. So in the world, Orthodox world, they finally have started dealing with this and recognize not everybody's cut out for this. Not everybody should be doing this. Yes, everyone should learn. You need to like know the Torah and halacha for living your life. It doesn't mean like sitting and doing that as your main. Not everyone needs to be part of the think tank. There are other jobs, but it's been hard because families are like, oh, I wish my son was this. You know, I wish. So I think about Devorah, of how she was able to inspire her husband, stay married to him, and see him thrive and flourish as who he was meant to be. And that she did that with everybody. Truly, truly amazing and great. So that's our new definition of what it means to be a mother. We should all strive to have more mothering in our lives, to be mothered and to mother others. And that is a tremendous gift to give to humanity. All right, ladies, questions, comments, anything to add about Devorah, about the parsha of Man? Darlene, I see your square started to light up, but I didn't hear you.
You don't hear me?
Now, barely.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. First of all, thank you.
You are welcome.
Whenever someone talks about a good Jewish mother, I always think there's the saying, a good Jewish mother never, a good Jewish mother forgives and forgets. Yes, you've heard of that saying?
I didn't totally hear that, Darlene. I said, I just heard a good Jewish mother, but I didn't hear the rest of it. Can you write it in the chat for us?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. Yes, so we all would like to be good Jewish mothers. Again, you don't have to have any kids. You don't have to be a woman. You don't even have to be a mother to be a good Jewish mother. And that is our goal. Yes, Etta.
I started off so negative and I'm so positive now.
Oh, good.
Inspired me because I started off with like the typical secular, oh, the Jewish mother. And now I'm like, wow, the
Wow.
Jewish mother is an amazing force for good.
It's amazing force. You are so welcome. Yes, a Jewish mother is the force for good. It's what the world needs to bring us to. So, and it kind of helps us understand when it says that it was the righteous Jewish women that made that were the reason for the redemption of the Jewish people from Egypt. And in the future, it'll be the righteous Jewish women. And I think it's like, what aspect of that? Like their trust and faith in God, in themselves. Let's see, a good Jewish mother forgives and forgets, but I say that a good Jewish mother forgives. I didn't see the rest of it. Let me see if we can. That a good Jewish mother forgives and forgets, but she never forgets what she forgave. That's cute. Okay, so a good Jewish mother. So forgiveness has to be part of it. People make mistakes along the way, but I forgave you about that, so don't forget it. So it's like a Jewish mother has a long memory, and she has, it goes backwards and forwards. And if we look at the Jewish matriarchs who were Jewish mothers, and Deborah is like, they look backwards to remember what was, and they can see very much into the future of what will be. And they make choices in the here and now to support that vision. And that's why they can act with faith and trust, is because they have clarity about that. Which, if you think about it militarily, that's what makes a good head of how do you develop a military strategy? You have to have clarity about what are the strengths and weaknesses of your adversary and what's the best approach to navigate. If we look at this and dissect, we can see it's all the same thing applied in different arenas. It's all the same thing, being a Jewish mother. That's the key. So we want to really focus on that, and that dovetails beautifully with the idea of the manna, that it was the Jewish women who gave the manna its name, because they were the embodiment of that emunah, of that trust and faith in God. And they were like, this food was all about trusting God. I don't have anything today. Hashem is taking care of me. I'm not worried. And to be able to be that and have that as your bedrock faith and trust. This is a child learns that at their mother's breast or with the bottle. It's like, where's my next meal coming from? That is the fundamental human concern from the moment we are born, is where is that? That's why it says a baby is born, unless there's a problem, baby is born knowing how to suck. It's like because you're ready to take in the nourishment. That's what your first concern, that is your first concern, is where's my meal coming from? And it's so interesting. Even again, every time it just is so great to see, like with our little grandchildren, that when the mother picks them up after the first couple of weeks, they stop crying as soon as she picks them up, because they can smell. They can smell is like lunch is on its way. So, yeah. Yes, Renee.
What's the Hebrew word for suckle?
Oh, so that is the word, it's actually the word for a baby. So it's Yud Nun Kuf. Yonek is a means to suckle, and a tinuk is a baby, one who suckles, which is actually like what I think what Moshe asks God, like, am I a yonek? Like, am I like the nursing mother here? Like that everybody, I have to take care of everybody. Like, I can't do it. I cannot nurse all these babies. But we say there is that we nursed from Moshe and Aaron. That is actually the description that is used. If you look in the Art Scroll translation in Song of Songs, when it talks about the breasts, it translates it as Moshe and Aaron, and that we suckled, that we sucked at the breast. And that's what it means, is to nourish in that way. But that is the definition of a baby. Tinuk is one who is yonik, the one who suckles. Yeah, really fascinating. So all these things, whenever you see a stereotype, or you see something that is cast in a negative light, especially, I'm not going to volunteer about this, about other things, but especially if it has to do with the Jewish people, Jewish women, Jewish, any of these things, the first thing you want to do is drill down and say, where is this description coming from? What is it really speaking to? And is there something there that we have kind of gotten distorted, lost sight of, that has been, you know, something has gone wrong here. So reclaim your Jewish motherhood, because it's the best thing we got going. All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining me. I'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Ellen,
Thank you.
Yes, you're
Um,
welcome. Yes, Renee.
so this is recorded, your recording is still on. I don't know if you want to turn the recording off.
I will turn it off. Hold on a second. If you would like to have this be more private, hold on one second. Yeah.